Hey there, Soul Shines. It's Michelle here, and I'm coming to you live in my car. And because I realized, I didn't upload a video, I didn't make a video, and I'm not going to be home for who knows how long. And I think it's kind of funny that I'm going to talk to you guys about perfectionism when I've got like this sun thing coming right across my face. And because I'm on my phone, I don't know where to look, and I keep looking over here when I need to be looking like a so I just think it's kind of funny because here we're doing the imperfect perfectionism video. So I wanted to talk to you about this perfectionism thing because I was having a conversation with my friend this morning, and I was telling her about the OCD situation that I've been experiencing and all kinds of things. And so we were kind of talking, and she's like, it's kind of funny because I've known for a long time that I have perfectionism, but I really didn't see it as a problem until fairly recently. And I was like, yeah, I never really thought of the perfectionism as a problem either until a few years ago. And so that's why I kind of wanted to address me. Like, it looked like he was going to run into me. It was kind of scary because he came like close and then was going to back into his spot. Anyway, so perfectionism. The word does not sound that crazy, does it? It really doesn't sound like a big deal. In our heads, we know that trying to be perfect is not a good thing, but it doesn't really sound like that big of a deal until you really start to look at it and dissect it. So for her, she found it very helpful to find some other words to describe it. One of them was rigid thinking, and kind of compulsion. And that's where, for me, instead of labeling myself as a perfectionist, first of all, labels are kind of not very helpful. But instead of thinking of myself as experiencing perfectionism, thinking of myself as experiencing OCD, which is actually what I do experience, it makes more sense. So, one easy example of my OCD that I just thought was perfectionism until recently, silly me, I was in a class in school, and we had extra credit in this class. We had so much extra credit that I could literally get 30% on the final and get 100% in the class. So I didn't need to do well on that final. So if I just had a healthy dose of do your best, that kind of thing, then I would have just done my best on the test. I would have been fine, knowing that I could have failed the test and still passed the class. But what happened is I missed one problem on that test, and I had to go in and talk to my teacher to find out what I did wrong. And so if we're finding that we're doing that kind of thing, that we're kind of doing overs on stuff, that's not healthy. So maybe perfectionism isn't the right word for it. Recognizing that it was obsessive is important. Some of my things are, I feel like everything I do is going to have eternal consequences. That's a part of the scrupulosity thing. And that's pretty crazy. Like sometimes it gets as ridiculous as how you fold towels is going to be a problem. One of the things that we both talked about and we both understood is we don't hold other people to the same level of expectation that we hold to ourselves. So I believe that I have to stay very straight on my path, and that if I swerve a little bit, like a little tiny bit, then I'm going to be basically damned to hell or cast into outer darkness or whatever. Like, just a little bit. And yet, I don't believe that you have to believe in God. That's totally up to you. And my brother has left our church, and I'm like, that's his journey. That's okay. It's it's not a big deal. And so I think it's kind of funny that we hold ourselves to these higher standards than we hold everybody around us. That's not uncommon. That's a pretty common thing. But when it becomes something where you're beating yourself up, where you become obsessive about being perfect, like seriously, really perfect. Like you can't sway at all. There's no give. That's a problem. So, like my friend, for her, the first thing she had to do was come up for words for what it really was, so that she could really grasp the concept of what's really going on. So for her, it's this rigid thinking. There's one way to fold towels. I come to towels because we talked about towels today, and I argued with somebody about how to fold towels, and then a couple of years later, I started folding them the way that person had told me to fold them, because I saw the logic in the way that he folded towels. And it's just kind of funny that I was so rigid in my ideas of how you fold towels, and we get that way. And so for her first step was to see. Every time this kind of pauses, I'm like, wait, are we still recording? So find some words that help you to really understand what really is going on. Rigid thinking, compulsion, obsessive, judging such a used word that it doesn't feel as much of a problem as maybe it really is. So that's the first thing. And then she shared with me a visual that she had and her next step. And that's really what I wanted to share with you guys. Some ideas on how you can do it and deal with it. For herself, she asked to be shown a visual, something that she could use to help her to understand herself and understand how to change it. And so she saw in her mind's eye a beautiful, beautiful, pure white animal. And it was a statue, and very rigid and very still. And it was very beautiful. And this animal was a protector. It was a white panther that stood as a protector for her. You know, that like how they put the cats in a protective state. That's what this was for her. And then she watched someone, or like God maybe, breathe life into the statue. And the statue began to change a little bit. The coloring got a little bit more coloring into it. It was still beautiful, but now it could move around, and it had some fluidity and was still this beautiful, beautiful protector. But now it wasn't just standing there. It actually had movement and could really protect her. And she was able to then get compassion for herself. And she really believes that that's one of the most important things. And I agree. Compassion for ourselves. We created our perfectionism to protect us from whatever it is. For me, it's has to do with my fear of being cast out. Thrust to hell, cast out. There's all kinds of little like phrases that come to mind in this, being excluded from God's presence. And so I get compulsive about having to do everything I can to be like this perfect, and so that I can be there in the end with him. That's my fear, my thing. And so the OCD, the perfectionism, those things are a way to protect ourselves. And when we can acknowledge that and have compassion, and then learn healthier ways to protect ourselves, add life into our rigidity so that it has some fluid and can truly protect us, because sometimes we get caught up in things that don't matter and maybe forget about things that do, because we get so distracted by these little things that become compulsions for us. Hopefully there's something in this little rambling today that is going to help you and be a benefit for you. I'm really excited about my conversation with her. Like I talked about the other day, life is meant to be easy. And there was so much in that conversation with her that I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I'd felt excluded in this one situation. Now I know I felt excluded. I can go in and heal that feeling and really feel it and really let it out. I understand even more about why I have that compulsion. I recognize that I do need to give myself more compassion. And it's just, I like have all these little facets now from that conversation to help me on that next level, that next journey. Even my need to heal it completely is a part of my perfectionism, which I think is kind of funny. So there we go. Those are some thoughts, some feelings, some things to think about. I want you to be able to embrace yourself as the perfectly flawed being that you are, and to give yourself permission to just do your best. And you don't have to be perfect, but just do your best and give yourself compassion. Recognize that you have that need to be perfect as a part of your protection. If that's something you're dealing with, if you're dealing with perfectionism, OCD, any kind of thing like that, it's a protection. And when we can recognize and give ourselves compassion and maybe go back and deal with the little girl inside of you or the little boy inside of you that has that need to protect themselves, and maybe we can actually heal this. Remember, everybody, to let your light shine and be the incredibly beautiful, wonderful you that you were created to be. And I will see you guys